100%.
So the New York Times has new reporting on the man who has been escorting Pete Hegseth around Capitol Hill this month. According to the paper, John Hazenbein is a former Army Special Forces Master Sergeant who left the military after attacking a civilian during a training exercise back in 2019. So this is the guy who's escorting Hegseth around Capitol Hill now. Witnesses
to the
said,
senator's offices.
Right.
The senator's office.
Witnesses said he beat the civilian role player who is a former member of Iraq's Army elite counterterrorism service, kicking him, punching him, and leaving him hogtied in a pool of his own blood. Among other injuries, the civilian was left with a broken nose, a broken tooth, a sprained shoulder, a scalp hematoma, and blunt facial trauma, according to memos and statements by company employees about the episode. The Army charged Hazenbein with aggravated assault and reckless endangerment. A military jury found him guilty of the assault charge in a court-martial in 2020, according to Army records. But the judge overseeing the case declared a mistrial after learning that a friend of Hazenbein had been talking to a juror throughout the trial, court records show. The Army did not retry the case. In a statement to the Times, Hazenbein said, "I have no conviction," and was honorably retired after 22 years of service. That's all you need to know.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he was given the choice of being retried or leaving, and I think that's how it happened. But it's beyond beyond telling Jonathan O'Meara, when his nomination is already on life support, that he brings a guy like this that has been charged with this by the United States military. Right? That's the thing. The United States military of beating the hell out of someone in a military exercise and being charged for it. I mean, a guy who's a U.S. citizen now being charged for it, and he has no better judgment than that. This is who he is. This is who he has been. He went time and time again to Donald Trump, didn't he, and tried to get people that were charged in the military for abusive behavior, and he became champions of abusers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important context here. That's how he got on Donald Trump's radar to begin with, is that he would defend members of the military who were accused of misconduct, some of them in matters of abuse or worse, and that he was able to successfully get some of them, to clemency from the President of the United States. The Hegseth camp is saying that this is a sign of loyalty, that he's sticking with his guys, no matter what the accusation was, then this is what he's going to bring to the Pentagon, defend those who serve the country and stand up for those within the building.
There are a lot of people who serve the country who in military exercises, and I know, because on the Armed Services Committee, I get to see a lot of the military exercises. They don't kick the hell out of somebody. They don't kick them in the ribs. They don't hog tie them. They don't chip their tooth. They don't leave them in a pool of blood. There are a lot of people, a lot of honorable men and women that serve in the military that could have been escorting him around like that. But it's almost like he's constantly got to prove a point.
Yeah, every bit of that is right. He had other options. This is a deliberate choice, a signal that he's sending, in part because I am told he thinks Donald Trump respects that. The idea of doubling down, fighting, don't give an inch. We will see if that plays out in the politics, though, of his confirmation choice, because we already know there are a number of senators who've expressed reservations, public and private, about Hegseth's conduct, about his judgment. This is a matter of judgment here. And we also, reporting shows, including folks that I talked to yesterday, that though Trump is still supporting this pick, he's took him to the Army-Navy game, as you noted, but he hasn't gone fully to bat for him yet. He has not personally said, Hegseth's my guy. He hasn't called those senators. He's posted on Truth Social, but hasn't called.
They think more things are coming out.
There's an expectation that more's coming, and Hegseth is still a few votes short.
All those senators are just saying,
this wasn't it?
All these senators are saying, why do I have to say anything when gravity's going to do all my work for me? Right. That's what they're thinking. So when you hear them going, oh, hey, let's let the process play out. Let's see what happens.
How could there be more?
We're just going to wait. We'll process. Play out means, yeah. We're going to just sit there and watch him and watch the gravity pull him through. with weight of more things coming out.
So, Jackie, you obviously cover these members every single day. What's your sense of how or how not this has evolved? There was great skepticism a couple of weeks ago around Pete Hegseth. It seemed like he was doomed. It's a little bit of a tone shift, at least, from someone like Senator Ernst last week, but not a full endorsement by any stretch of the imagination. What's your sense of where things are now with his nomination, potential nomination, and where they're headed?
I think this wait and see posture, wait until there's more FBI background checks, wait until we get closer to the process and keep quiet until then is the strategy that most senators are currently employing, doing everything behind closed doors after seeing Joni Ernst take a radically different approach that staffers and members that we've spoken to were really critical of, who said she sort of overshot her own power and influence by going out on Fox News, getting ahead of herself, saying that she was not ready to support Hegseth in a pretty public way, having sort of triggering this public criticism and full court press on her from MAGA world, and then 4 days later backtracking on it in a way that sort of damages her credibility and also her standing in Trump world. You're seeing the rest of these senators now learning a very different lesson from her actions. But we have seen a slight win for some Republican senators. Tom Fox successfully was one of the people who lobbied Trump to step down from considering Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, who was being proposed to be the CIA #2, the deputy to John Ratcliffe, after some private conversations and concerns raised with Trump directly about Kennedy's past comments and statements and beliefs about the CIA. Trump ultimately decided that he wasn't going to consider her anymore. And this was done in a very stealth way behind closed doors. You know, Cotton, along with some other Republican senators, have a very ideological approach to, foreign intervention and foreign espionage and sort of some of these subversive espionage tactics that the CIA does, and that Cotton, in particular, has viewed as very valuable to U.S. intelligence and communicated those concerns and was successful in his lobbying. So I think this is sort of the approach that we're going to see going forward, because so far you haven't really seen many other public specific criticisms of people who might have similar problems to Amaryllis Fox, such as Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, Gene Robinson, it seems that everybody has taken the let's wait and see. No need to have people screaming at us, and our staff members over Christmas holidays. We're saying we're not going to support a Trump pick. It's a let's let the FBI investigations, let's let the further newspaper investigations take its course, and then you'll see probably people like Murkowski, Collins, who's got to win in a very blue state 2 years from now, Mitch McConnell, maybe Cassidy, who's already voted against impeachment, doing what they will likely do, especially on Hegseth and Gabbard's. But you know what? That's what was so interesting yesterday, and what Donald Trump said at the end of that statement we played, which is, if you disagree with them, if you disagree with their policies, if you disagree with them personally for those positions, I get it. Which is sort of, I think,
some space.
That's extraordinarily telling, and a lot of space, and it's a lot different than what all these outside groups are doing to try to make money on this.
Yeah, Donald Trump is not going to the mat for these nominees, not for Hegseth, not for Gabbard. Maybe he is for RFK Jr., and I think he'll likely get him through. But look, I come back to what you were saying at the beginning of the segment, which is Pete Hegseth is in no way qualified to be Secretary of Defense, and that's just I think those senators that you mentioned and probably others really can't get past that. I'm not sure they could get past the fact that this guy walking around with him who was court-martialed for that horrific incident. But he's look. The world is on fire. The U.S. has forces around the globe and is constantly moving resources and people here and there, trying to put out the flare-ups of these fires as best it can, to keep our people as best we can out of harm's way while while fulfilling missions. That's enormously complicated, and it takes somebody who really knows the military inside out, who knows the Pentagon inside out, who knows what levers to push and pull. And Hexas has none of that, and it would just be madness to have somebody like that running the Defense Department now. It's just not acceptable. And then of course Tulsi Gabbard presents a whole different set of issues around the question of loyalty, frankly.
Well, loyalty to Syria, loyalty to Russia. I mean, the loyalty. Yeah, it's really, really bizarre. Yeah, but again, even with Pete Hegseth, as we said, not qualified and yet still doing things.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, where he gets a guy who's charged, and we went through the details, just beating the hell out of somebody that was there to help them with an exercise. And then, the case thrown out on a technicality. But the facts are still there, and Hegseth knows it, and I guess wants to prove a point that he can.
Right in your face.
He can champion people that have been accused of abusing others in the military.